Hey dumplings, it's Safe to Side. Today I want to get into Jin and the military and people believing Jin might leave BTS after the military and why this is being talked about. I also want to get into a BTS contract and what almost happened that would have made them not renew. So hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on, grab your dumpling, tea spilling mug merch, and let's get into it. The first thing that I wanted to get into today is BTS and their contract. We know that BTS in about 2018 during the Mnet Awards, BTS won an award and went on stage to talk about their journey and honestly how they even got to where they are to win an award. Jin took the mic and decided to tell their story. Apparently BTS had met together and talked about how they would plan on disbanding and no longer making music together. I don't think it had anything to do with them not liking being together or making music together, because if that was the case, then they still wouldn't enjoy really making music now. However, I do believe one of the main reasons they even considered this was just how lonely and scary the journey to success is. Celebrities give up everything in order to do what they do, and they often don't have enough time for themselves and have these long periods of depression, which only gets worse when you are constantly working and not taking care of yourself and definitely not sleeping. But the members decided to work through it, and ultimately for the sake of each other and for the sake of ARMY, they decided to continue as a group, and we are so grateful that they did. All the other members, when Jin took the mic, were very obviously emotional, and it was tough to hear that they had gone through all that quietly. Because if they had announced this, it would have become the biggest shock to the community. None of us were seeing that there was anything actually wrong with BTS from the outside, and they seemed happy because on camera they had to be. So it would have been gut-wrenching to hear all of this was happening behind the scenes and then hear that they are not going to be a group anymore. Now this is something that most of us knew already, and most of us knew about this very sad moment. However, there was a moment in the Break the Silence documentary that BTS released which went over more details on the breakup and what happened. They talked about how 2018 was very difficult for them and there was just a lot going on, specifically talking about how they didn't like what they were doing, didn't feel confident in their work at the time. As artists, it's very difficult when you create something that you like but maybe the audience doesn't like, but then create something that you may not like as much but the audience does like it. And it can be hard to understand the thing that the audience likes because you don't like it as much and you don't know why. So it can be hard to recreate it. And as an artist, you do need to think about what others want from you. This is the only way to be able to keep making the art that you want to make. But also in general, something people think about is, do they want to just make things they don't like? Now, these are not BTS's words. This is just the general struggle a lot of artists have with their work that results them leaving their label, leaving their group, or leaving music altogether. And Jimin actually talked a little bit about their contract. Jimin said if they hadn't chose to renew their contract, they would have gone their separate ways. Not that they would have just gone with a different label, they would have just quit being a boy band altogether. And they're now grateful that they did re-sign the contract, not just to make music, but having a big enough reason to see each other every day. But the most heartbreaking thing for me about this was the fact that if they had broken up in 2018, this would have not created this huge K-pop impact and created this K-pop movement in America. They had just gotten their start here in America and things were really blowing up for them. If they had just stopped, we would not have as much Asian representation on TV right now or anything like that. I wholeheartedly believe that. This is another reason why ARMYs are so upset over the whole military thing, because they have tried so hard to stay together and be together for almost a decade. So many boy bands do not stay together this long, and so the fact that they beat all odds and are still together only to get ripped apart by the military, that's messed up. And it's not like their efforts haven't caused good things for the Korean community or Asian community in general. There has been speculation as to when Jin will be going to the military, and we believe to be by the end of this year if laws do not change. But there is also this other concern of if BTS will disband or not be together anymore after the military. If they will take this opportunity to have a reason to break up and pursue more solo endeavors. Endeavors like a solo mixtape or in Jin's case, acting. Jin studied to be an actor and has not gotten to explore that at all. Jin is older and old enough to star in a cool K-drama, maybe a romance drama, whatever it is. And he is at the age in which the drama would fit him, because if he was 50 or 60, he probably wouldn't be able to play the lead, right? So there is this idea of if Jin is going to fully explore that and take some time after the military. Acting is not easy, but it is easier in the sense that there is less travel and there is less vigorous training to be in a K-drama as opposed to the crazy dancing hours the boys normally endure. There are so many articles and forums that talk about this idea that after the military, Jin will go his own way, or even ask the question of if this is something he would ever do or would ever want to do. I think Jin is someone who is very talented in so many different ways, but he is also at times finds music to be frustrating. He wrote the song Abyss to talk about his depression and his burnt outness, and I don't know if this is something he feels often, because then maybe acting is better. I feel like he also feels that he can't go into acting or anything like that in fear of quote unquote betraying the boys or betraying ARMY. But if you're a true ARMY, then you'll support whatever he does as long as he's happy. And I highly doubt that Jin wouldn't be singing anymore if he was in a K-drama. I see no reason why the director wouldn't ask Jin to go ahead and create the OST for the dramas. How are you going to have an international pop star in your shows and not have him sing? Jin also has many friends in the acting field, and for him to get into that would be very easy. I do think at this time, if he does get into acting, it could give backlash just over the idea that the actors hate when pop stars go into acting. Because the pop stars have it quote unquote easier because they're already famous. So even if they're not great at acting, they just get a pass because they help sell more tickets to the film. But Jin is actually really good, so that should not be an issue. In the original season of BTS In The Soup, which you can check out the whole season with me on Patreon, link below, BTS had this conversation that if they were not together, what would they do? Jin talked about how Suga would have always been successful anyway, and I agree. Suga was an underground rapper. He went by Gloss and Auguste and would have probably continued doing that and would still manage to be super successful. Suga talked about how Jin would have been an actor, and then Jin also said that his life changed when he met all the members. This also goes to show that he may not have any interest left in being an actor and would prefer to remain a singer with all the boys by his side. People were thinking HYBE would give a statement, but likely HYBE isn't going to be the one to come out and talk about what Jin's plan of action is. They are likely not going to want Jin to go into acting, as BTS does currently have a contract signed. While contracts usually can't be broken, I highly doubt BTS at this point in their career gets contracts that are the same as everyone else. And likely if there are issues, they can leave the contract or pursue a different position in the company. I don't know. But also I don't know if HYBE has an acting sector, but they can likely find connections to it. My theory is that Jin is nowhere near leaving BTS after the military. I totally see all of them together when they're all 50 or 70 singing together on stage. It seems like every time they talk or address their careers, they keep talking about how they want to do this for a very long time and continuously work on their health and skills to make sure that they can do this for a long time. I think it's interesting there's several artists that we don't hear about in mainstream media, or at least a lot less than what we hear about from mainstream artists. But artists like Rolling Stones or Bob Dylan, they're still going and still selling out shows. I imagine BTS will be like that, and it might be better too, as they won't be harassed by paparazzi and can just do music. News sites and paparazzis are usually only interested in you during your youthful years. Once you pass the years of having a children and then being much older in your 70s, they simply kind of leave you alone. There's of course exceptions, but at that point I would imagine BTS can all just be happy making music without any of the BS that comes with fame. But as per usual, we don't know the full story or what will actually happen. We can't predict the future, but Jin leaving the group does seem a lot less likely, and I think acting is something he is less interested in doing, at least right now. I like that all the boys have the same mindset and vision for their career. They were all meant to be. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos, a link down below. Thank you to this lovely comment. Love you, bye.